Through the declaration, we set out bold proposals for universal carbon taxation together with emission levies on aviation and maritime, as well as a financial transaction tax, as instruments of mobilizing resources for investment in the necessary transformation of climate action and sustainable development. We are here to mobilize strongly and build on the success of Nairobi as we prepare for COP28 in Dubai. Our first action must be to retire the false narrative of the incompatibility of development and climate action. For us in Africa, choosing between one or the other is both unnecessary and wise altogether, because climate action is a necessary condition for peace, prosperity, and economic development. The time has come to unlock abundant natural resource endowments in our countries through investment and fair trade mechanisms to power the engine of climate positive growth in the journey towards a net zero world. The message we must project now at the UN General Assembly and later at COP28 is that Africa stands ready for investments and partnerships for green growth. On this position, we are joined by the civil society, the youth, the children, the private sector, the indigenous communities, and faith-based organizations as reflected in their various submissions, declarations, and other contributions during the summit. I congratulate Africa and its leaders for the goodwill, steadfast commitment, clarity of purpose, courage, and resolve shown during the summit, and also reflected in the Nairobi Declaration, which boldly set out Africa's vision for the global climate action agenda. We must now turn our focus with equally strong commitment and diligence to its implementation. I am privileged to have the singular honor of welcoming you to our third meeting of the Committee of African Heads of State and Government on Climate Change this year. Our meeting today takes place during a tragic period when tens of thousands of people have been killed by climate-related disasters this year. Libya alone has lost close to 10,000 to floods. Thousands have been killed in wildfires in Hawaii, Greece, and North Africa, and many more died in droughts and landslides. Beyond the fatalities, millions have been injured, displaced, impoverished, while livelihoods and economies are in ruins. Progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals is disappointing for the majority, and the Global Stocktake report released 2 weeks ago confirms this. At the same time, debt distress continues to make it harder for our countries to address socioeconomic needs. Evidently, political will to act with the necessary urgency and skill is urgently needed to eliminate a growing mistrust among countries and peoples. This deficit has successfully addressed, this deficit was successfully addressed by the inaugural and tremendously successful Africa Climate Summit held in Nairobi 2 weeks ago and attended by over 28,000 people from across Africa and beyond. I take this opportunity to extend sincere appreciation to you and all of you who made to the summit that was so inclusive and well attended that many referred to the summit as a pre-COP and a pivotal moment that produced an impressive level of alignment between the Global South and the Global North. This is chiefly because at the summit, leaders took the opportunity to approach as a path of delivering prosperity and well-being for Africa's growing population without pushing the world further into climate disaster, and also a collective responsibility approach that unites all countries in urgent action to confront climate disaster and secure the Earth's future. The Nairobi Declaration on Green Growth and Climate Finance Agenda adopted by the summit commits us to a climate-positive pathway to propel Africa's economy forward, limit our emissions, but also aid global decarbonization efforts. The declaration also reinforced climate action ambitions and repositioned Africa as a destination for green investments, a green industrialization hub, and a carbon sink for the world. Further, the declaration laid a strong emphasis on the reform of the global financial architecture and called for debt restructuring, including extension of debt tenure and 10-year grace period to provide the fiscal space needed for countries to attend to the SDGs and climate action agendas. We also called for additional concessional financing and the issuance of new SDRs, and equally critically, a just risk assessment and credit rating system that eliminates unjust and arbitrary disparities. Can we adopt that report? Thank you. There being no objection, implementation roadmap of the African Leaders Nairobi Declaration and call for action is hereby adopted. Excellent.
The action for Africa and the voice of the continent is more united and better heard. Excellencies, as part of the world where climate injustice is most cruel, in fact, Africa is trying to look for its path and in order to emerge and out of its marginalization. Africa remains committed to climate change and also in order to ensure that her voice and alienable rights are respected. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to His Excellency President William Ruto for his continued commitment and his determination in order to fight for climate change on the continent. In fact, key steps have been taken on the continent. The success of the first African Summit on Climate held recently in Nairobi and the substantive declaration that crowned the deliberations, in fact, shows the awakening of Africa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the African Union Commission has not waited that Nairobi Declaration, ink of that declaration dries before taking any action. In fact, we need to starting implementing, and a report will be presented today to your esteemed committee. An information note also will show. That is to show that we are determined to work with the member states and the partners of the Union in order to support the implementation of the Declaration of Nairobi and to maintain the historical momentum that was already imprinted in the beautiful capital of Nairobi. It is absolutely necessary to maintain the momentum of COP27 of Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, and we look forward to COP28 in the Emirates that will produce ambitious results, balanced, just, and that will deal with adaptation, loss and damage, financing, and leadership. We are also working hard to mobilize resources and to support the member states, and we have started working out a multi-country program for climate change. While again thanking the members of the KAOSK for their commitment in order to give the necessary orientation and leadership to the program of Africa, I would like to request you to do everything so that Africa speak with one voice at the Summit on Climate Change, and then to mobilize around our declaration and at COP28 in the United Arab Emirates. This is one of the dimensions of ecological and environmental Pan-Africanism. It is not only survival for people, but it is also a struggle for the dignity and the pride and the moral of Africa, and I thank you for your kind attention. It is also crucial to establish a new financing architecture adapted to the needs of Africa, including the restructuring and debt alleviation, and to seize the opportunity of the first stock taking that will take place and to change the data in order to have a positive global result that is retrospective as well as forward-looking. Thus, the commitment that was made at the Nairobi summit by the United Arab Emirates, which will become the chair of COP28 to support Africa, and particularly in the areas of renewable energy and adaptation. I finally call upon the African Union Commission to prepare the framework for implementation and the roadmap for the Nairobi Declaration, and to make climate change a theme of the African Union for 2025-2026. I thank you.